Hello, fellow lovers of the liminal and the weird, and welcome to another video by Liminal Spaces. Today I'm going to be going over my next section of Stephen King's. This is Stephen King's from the early 90s in my collection. I'm going chronologically, and this is the last section that we'll be going through where I've read most of the books in the section. But yeah, let's start with the first release here, and that is The Wasteland. The Dark Tower, Book 3, with magnificent full-color illustrations by Ned Dameron. And they are quite magnificent. Really beautiful art in here. A lot of people say this is where The Dark Tower really kicks in, is the third book. Unfortunately, I DNF'd the second book, and I bought this right when it came out, and there was actually a couple of different covers. There's a train cover as well, which I do have. I have a couple variant covers from this time, but yeah, I'll just show this one. So I don't know if this is a great book. I don't know if this is when everything begins, but a lot of people says it is. So I'm not sure if I have these in the right chronological order. These both came out in the same year, but I feel like I remember them going opposite. But I'm going to go in the way that I have them because I feel like I made my shelf very chronologically accurate. So the next one is 4 Past Midnight. This is 4 novellas, all on different seasons. I remember reading The Langoliers in this one. I think I remember reading Secret Window, Secret Garden, but I don't think I finished this one. I think I read the first 2 novellas in it, and I was not a massive fan of The Langoliers, and I think I really enjoyed Secret Window, Secret Garden. I think there's a good movie about it. There's a movie about Langoliers as well. I feel like I read this after Needful Things, which is coming up next, and I was just... The spell of Stephen King had started wearing off on me, and I didn't finish this one. And of course, remember when we're talking about these, we're talking about my teenage self reading these. We're talking 30 years ago. Next, we have Needful Things, another very thick book from Stephen King, and one that I really enjoyed. I remember this was kind of the last King book that I thought was absolutely incredible, that I had so much fun reading. The concept was new to me. I'd read Curse Object stories before. I'd read The Monkey's Paw, but to have some kind of terrifying, monstrous, demonic store owner have a whole shop full of cursed objects and sell these to a town to hopefully eventually turn the town on each other and create demonic chaos. Really, really wildly good idea, and one that I had a lot of fun with. This did not feel too long to me. I feel like it ended well, and I really became involved in each story of each person's desire for this certain thing and the small pranks they do without realizing how much that prank is going to affect the chaos to come. Really high quality Stephen King, one of my favorites. Next up is Gerald's Game. And this is the last Stephen King book I remember reading instantly as they came out, spot after spot after spot. Like this was the last Stephen King hurrah from me. Everything after this was me just kind of checking in and seeing how Stephen King was doing. I know that sounds weird, but yeah, this is the end of the glory years for me. This is the end of being so obsessed with Stephen King that whatever he put out I read as much as I could have. Yeah, it was Gerald's Game, and I enjoyed the idea. I enjoyed the novel. I remember really thinking it was wild. I remember telling my parents, like, this is the weirdest Stephen King that's ever existed. And I think my mom read it and thought so too. It wasn't too long. It was the right exact length that it needed to be. And I remember enjoying it. It's a quirky thriller. It's not as much... It's closer to thriller than supernatural horror for Stephen King. But yeah, it was a really good time. I remember it being a good time. Dolores Claiborne. I've had the story told to me by my aunt, who really loved this book. I don't remember this coming out, which is crazy because everything here I would buy the day it released. And then suddenly, after Gerald's game, I was just kind of done. And this completely passed over my radar. I didn't even know it existed out there. And then when I started kind of buying up Stephen King later, I was like, Dolores Claiborne? I don't even know what that is. And I know for Stephen King, this was a change. I feel like Stephen King also kind of ended an era here with Gerald's game and started a new one where he wanted to branch out into a complexity that went beyond horror. And I know that there's horror in this tale, but I also know that this is an incredible drama. Yeah, so with this change that occurred after this run of kind of, for me, the golden age of Stephen King, he started trying to go in a different direction. And yeah, somehow I missed this book entirely. I am so sorry. This is a first trade paperback of this book. I don't have the Grant first edition on that one. This and then these three are all first edition, first prints, as is this one. First edition, first print of all these stories. The next book we have is Nightmares and Dreamscapes. And I have no recollection of reading this book at all, although I do remember buying this one. No, I think I remember the Night Flyer. I think I remember It Grows on You. Yeah, so I think I probably read 3 or 4 stories out of this at the time. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't know. Really, I can't give this book a rating on how good or bad it is, given my stand hero workout today. Next, we have kind of a strange one in Stephen King's bibliography, and that is Insomnia. And I actually have 2 first... Oh, this was a first edition as well, by the way. First edition, first printing. I have 2 first editions of this one because he released 2 different covers where the red and white were switched. I did read this. I read this all the way through when it came out. It felt like at least a year after I'd kind of moved on from Stephen King. This was my return. And I read this and I enjoyed it. I think this is actually the last Stephen King book that I really enjoyed. Or we could say it's the first Stephen King book that I came back after my Stephen King run in the teen years had ended, and I really enjoyed this. It was a return. Weird stuff in this one. A lot of character development. As the main character stops sleeping, he starts hallucinating. It gets weirder and weirder. And apparently, I've heard, and I don't know, that this has a lot of ties to the Dark Tower. But yeah, this is a very strange book. I don't know what people think of it overall, but I really enjoyed it. I had a good time reading it. Here we have Rose Madder. This is a first edition. However, there is a variant cover of this. And I'm actually going to put that up first. I'll put the variant cover up here first. The variant cover, if you can find it, is worth a lot of money. It's very rare. They I think sent it to press, and a certain small number got pressed, and then the publishers didn't like it and changed it to this first edition. So this is a first edition, first printing, but there is a mistake that is worth a lot more than this one. I did not buy this at the time. I bought it later. I did not hear about it. When I jumped out of Stephen King, well, it's strange because Dolores Claiborne, I did not know about. I missed it somehow entirely. But I did get Nightmares and Dreamscapes, and I did get Insomnia. This one I completely missed. I'd never even heard of it. And I don't know how that happened, because I did hear about and buy at the time his next book. And I've got a little box set for it that I think you had to send in to the fan club to get. And it had a free Windows screensaver inside of it. But yeah, this is the Green Mile. And this was the last time Stephen King was able to pull me back as a teenager. And it was for these little novels because the idea to me was so cool. And I had learned about Charles Dickens and the fact that he would serialize his novels. He'd release them a couple chapters or a chapter at a time. And Stephen King did this, and I just thought it was really, really cool. So I bought them. I started reading them and didn't finish. I DNF'd this book. That does not say anything bad about this book. It's a great book. In fact, it's a lot of people would say it's one of his best. It's not horror. It tells a deeper story than horror. But I was just out of King at that time. I had moved on to other stuff. So, I loved the idea so much. I bought them all. I was super jazzed about it and started reading them and just petered out. I just wasn't interested in Stephen King anymore. I had overdosed on Stephen King is the best way I can describe it. I just read way too much Stephen King. He was the only... I read a lot of other horror, of course, around the time because Stephen King didn't produce enough to keep me reading, and I read a lot. But yeah, Stephen King was my favorite. He's what I wanted to read most of the time, and I read so much of him that I think I just wore myself out. And so I turned pretty hard from Stephen King. I didn't hate him or dislike him or anything like that. I just didn't really want to read him anymore. So yeah, this brings us to the end of the collection of the books that I have read. There's been a couple of times he's pulled me back that I've tried again, and we'll talk about those as those books come up. But from here on out, I'll just be showing you my first edition copies, because like I said, although I stopped reading The Collector and We Wouldn't Die, and I bought either later or as they came out every Stephen King book, so we still have half a shelf to go through, but it will go quicker because I won't have to talk about each and every one of these books as I go through them. So I'm thinking 2 or 3 more videos. I can probably go through a lot more of them per video. So yeah, there you go. That's my collection of Stephen Kings that I have read, and there'll be a couple more videos where we'll go through the Stephen Kings that I have not read. All right. Thank you so much for watching.